Warning, new ideas approaching. Hey, this is Nem. I had an idea, had a thought that I wanted to share with you all. I think that raiding in MMOs is quite interesting as a concept, right? Because it has its roots in these mega raids, like in the days of EverQuest, Classic WoW, like all those old school, even Dark Age of Camelot, those more PvP raids. Uh, this idea of just a lot of people, right? Like as many people as possible in a group to try and tackle giant bosses larger than life. And then that evolved into smaller scale, like 8, 12, 20 man content with like more modern WoW or like the Lord of the Rings online, kind of putting some story into it, as well as like Star Wars: The Old Republic, putting some story into it. You had like your Age of Conans, you had your, whatever, where now you had different flavors of raiding. You had like PvP style, you had story style, you had mass raid, you had smaller scale. And modern WoW started going into this direction of let's try to tell stories in our raids a little bit better. Let's have some like put in this orc model and he'll shimmy left, shimmy right, read a text box above his head, and then he'll do something and then the fight will start, like, oh wow, story elements and like lore, right? Like what a concept, and of course story's always been a part of raid since the beginning, at least loosely. It has become even more integrated. I mean, look at like Cataclysm WoW, where they started doing like cutscenes, and whatnot. So then you have Final Fantasy, who has just consistently pushed the barrier to the highest level. I think we don't give 14 enough credit where it's due when compared to its competitors, because we're just so used to it after playing for so long. But Final Fantasy 14, in ARR had core amazing second halves of the opening video for doing the raid series, right? Like the complete story, the mystery revealed of the entire game, like just this thing that's in every nook and cranny, every side quest, every quest, the calamity, what happened 5 years ago, the mystery, and then suddenly the raid series is what brings it all together. It was a really cool concept. And when it comes to raid content, 14 has banger music, unique mechanics and fights and bosses and stories with the raids, especially the Savages and the Ultimate, songs you've never heard, phases you've never seen, unique music for the Ultimate versions, multi-boss encounters. That is almost unheard of, that you would fight 5, 6, 7 bosses in a single fight. What other MMO can you find that in? You can't. You can't, right? Especially these souped up versions. And so 14 is pushing the rating boundary in a direction it's never been in before, and doing it with a lot of high substance, a lot of production value, you could say. But I believe that as we are human beings, and as this is the gaming industry, you can never sit back on your laurels for too long. You cannot just do the same thing and expect the same results. As interest will fade with time, you must evolve and do something new, or else you fade into obscurity, as they say. And I think 14 has untapped potential that could really change the game, could really mix things up. It couldn't be implemented in the current version of the game without breaking a lot or like making the players hate the game, but it could be done in a future version of the game where some of the restrictions or the way we do things now are a little looser, a little better. So for example, right now we have this issue where it's really difficult to gear alt jobs, right, in Savage and stuff. It's really time consuming, it takes forever, and it's been a long standing complaint of the community that, hey, we want to be able to like gear our first job, and then we really want to like play something else. I want to be able to go in on something else and it be fine that I do so, because 14 has a system of the jobs. We've been talking about it a lot, the job system. And I think aside from the fact that they're kind of breaking the job system right now and preparing it for like a Phoenix rebirth, right? We at the same time have this never before tapped into potential with the rating scene and the job system. So as you know now, one character, many jobs, opposed to the more typical MMO style of one character, one job, or one character, one class, right? Where you're stuck. You roll an orc warrior, you will always be an orc warrior unless you pay like $15 to like change into like a blood elf paladin, right? That's the world that MMOs have always lived in. And then MMOs like Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV, they had their roots in Final Fantasy 3 and 5, where in 3 and 5, you can just change your job whenever, right? So that concept, how can we bring it to MMOs? They did that successfully in 11 and they did it successfully in 14. And that puts 14 on a platform with opportunities that other MMOs are not afforded. So imagine this, if you will. Imagine the next evolution of content, right? I don't think we'll see anything brand new in 7.0 or 8.0. I think right now it's going to be like more chaotic, more savage, more ultimate, more alliance raid. We have a lot of battle content, maybe some criterion. Like, I don't expect us to get something brand new or this like, but I do think that maybe we could see an evolution of what we have. So imagine this, if you will. Imagine Endwalker Ultimate. Now, this is not a fan fiction idea. This isn't something I've been cooking up for a while. Literally just came up with this as I was scripting the video, but it's just as an example of what could be and how we could use systems differently in a way that it might scare you or feel like so much work right now in the current iteration of a game, but an iteration of the game where things are a little bit easier and more accessible to get into. Not talking about jobs, just getting into the content, having the gear, being able to play the game, right? In this high-end content is a little more accessible or easier to gear alts or whatever. In a future where that is very possible, think about this: an Endwalker Ultimate, right? Where in phase 1 you start with a Vothri door boss. Now there's going to be some spoilers for Shadowbringers and Endwalker here, so maybe not just an Endwalker Ultimate, maybe like a hybrid, like spanning multi-expansions encounter, where in phase 1 you have like a Vothri door boss, and in phase 2 you move on to Emmett Selk. In phase 3, what naturally comes after Emmett Selk, you fight Warrior of Light, right? You experience the emotion and the power. And then in phase 4, you've got to deal with Hydaelyn and Zodiark together in the same phase. And then in P5, you fight Meteon. But this time, Meteon wins and destroys everything, and you're left in a world without a world. You're left on some other distant star. She's winning. There's no hope, right? And left in the void or another star or whatever. In that loss, you get to intermission. So the P5 to P6 intermission, and your soul crystal shatters. Your soul crystal breaks, and everyone in the raid has to play a different job than what they started the raid as. You started as Black Mage. You did 5 phases of Black Mage, and now you have to play something else. And you have to finish out the fight. Now, maybe you just change to another DPS. That's not all that exciting in my head. Black Mage, okay, well, now I'm Summoner, right? But Black Mage, and now I have to play Gunbreaker. You know what I mean? I've got to play too, so I better gear up my Gunbreaker because I know I have to tank for the last 2 phases of this fight. I know I have to, because this is an ultimate. This ain't baby's first ultimate. This is like Yoshi P, his wildest dream of an ultimate of how to hate the players the most. And so you've got 2 classes, 2 jobs geared, 2 ready to go. And in an encounter where bosses are coming in and out and everything's going to shit, you're like, I have to now, can't even play my main job because I played it for 5 phases, and now I have to plan an entire comp around the last 2 phases of the fight with my raid team. Now, in today's world, that would be really hard, because how do you plan that in Party Finder? You joined as a Black Mage. It's like, yeah, but I also will play Gunbreaker, or I will also play, Summoner, whatever. What an interesting world it might be when, this is just as an example, we could start seeing the implementation of the job system in other content. You could test the waters in something like Alliance Raid, you know what I mean? where it's not a hard requirement, but you allow people to swap jobs to change up for a boss that requires twice as many tanks in Alliance as it would normally take. Normally you have 3 tanks, now you need 6. So 3 people have to swap the tank. That sounds pretty reasonable in Alliance raid to me, you know? What if people can't swap the tank? Oh God, you know? It just sounds like it's riskier, it's new, it's exciting, and I think it utilizes systems we already have to do content. And I think that 14 has afforded these opportunities because of its job system. It's taking advantage of something that nobody else can in the market, doing something uniquely 14. And that's something that excites me, that there is this untapped potential in the game, that there is this availability to come up with ideas and create fun new experiences. And you don't even need to make new content. You don't need to make like the next Criterion where like there's 6 hippos and you have to like juggle hippos while doing your rotation inside like a deep dungeon or something. Like you can just use what we have, right? And create opportunities for people to flex their mastery of multiple jobs. Flex their, I like to play Gunbreaker and I also like to play White Mage. I like to play Gunbreaker and my alt is also Gunbreaker. But in this case, I'll swap to Warrior. You know, like whatever. It's a weird opportunity to just do something new and exciting. Now, maybe putting it into Ultimate might be asking a little bit too much. That content's already crazy enough as it is. And that would really be pushing people to their limits. I mean, like, hey, you've really got to... but the possibilities are there. Like, then you start theory crafting. Guys, like, I think we should go triple melee for the first 3 phases and then swap at the end. And just the random cheese that would happen. Like, we can go 7 healers for the last 2 phases. You know, just whatever, right? Like, it creates these weird ways to play the game that even though it's like Ultimate, this high end, I think it's okay because it's unique to that encounter, that fight, where it's designed, where it's like, yeah, we want you to do and try weird stuff to get through this fight because we're giving you the tools and the opportunity to do so. I think that could be cool. That would be really neat. And I think that would breathe some life into the game and some trust to be like, you know what, these devs, maybe they are cooking something. Because right now, we don't have that. I am excited for a couple of different contents. Like I want to know more about Beastmaster. I want to know more about the new Deep Dungeon coming out. I'm a huge Deep Dungeon guy, and I really want to do Island, or like the Crescent Island thing. Huge fan of Eureka. Eureka was awesome. I would really like to see their like new and improved best version of it. Eureka 2 with a Boja Boogaloo, you know what I mean? Anyways, that's all I got for you today. Just I really think that there's untapped potential with our content and with our job system. And if they can fix the job design and the job balance, they could make cool stuff. You know, let's bring back like the idea of putting cool new stuff into MMOs again, not getting too bogged down by the confinement that we have of player expectation on balance and the way things work. Like, let's really mix it up a little bit and see what we can't come up with. I would love to see the job system utilized in new and exciting ways. Until then, I'm going to be crying and depressed about Black Mage. So if you need me, I'll be in my room with a bag of Doritos. So until then, this is Nem. See ya.